In December 2021, a single line of text, sent through a chat message, a username field, or even a hotel Wi-Fi login screen, was enough to take over some of the biggest servers on the internet. It's called Log4Shell, and if you work in this industry, you need to understand exactly why it worked. Log4Shell was a critical vulnerability in Log4j, a Java logging library used inside an enormous number of applications. Not a product most people had heard of, but one running quietly behind Minecraft servers, cloud platforms, enterprise software, and government systems alike. Security researchers rated it as close to the maximum possible severity because of how easy it was to trigger and how much access it could hand an attacker. Here's the core problem, in plain terms. Log4j had a feature that let logged messages trigger lookups, including reaching out to a remote server named in the message itself. So if an attacker could get any string logged, a chat message, a search query, an HTTP header, they could smuggle in a special format string that told the server to fetch and run code from an address the attacker controlled. The logging library, doing exactly what it was built to do, became the delivery mechanism for a full remote takeover. That's what made it so dangerous. You didn't need a sophisticated exploit chain, just somewhere for a string to get logged. Because Log4j sits inside so many other pieces of software as a dependency, most organizations didn't even know they were running it directly. It was often 3 or 4 layers deep inside something else entirely. That's why this became a supply chain problem, not a single product patch. Security teams had to hunt through their entire software inventory just to find out where Log4j existed at all before they could even start patching it. The realistic impact wasn't hypothetical. Within days, mass scanning and real exploitation attempts were observed across the internet, and organizations of every size had to treat this as an active, ongoing incident rather than a routine patch cycle. It's a genuine case study in why we don't use that software often isn't a safe assumption, because you might still be using it, just indirectly. The Apache Software Foundation released fixed versions quickly, and CISA issued an emergency directive requiring U.S. federal agencies to patch or mitigate immediately. The core lesson for defenders: maintain a real software bill of materials so you know what dependencies you're actually running, patch logging and utility libraries with the same urgency as user-facing software, and don't assume severity based on how visible a component is. Log4j was invisible to most users and still critical. If you're building your home lab or your first vulnerability scanning project, Log4Shell is a genuinely useful case study to know cold. It comes up in interviews, and understanding why it worked teaches you more about dependency risk than most textbook definitions do. If you want to see this kind of thinking applied practically, I'm building exactly this kind of dependency scanning check in DepentrixSec. More on that in another video. Subscribe if you want the next breakdown like this.